Hey guys, tonight we're diving deep into the ancient Andes, exploring a topic so profoundly, mind-numbingly still, it might just lull you into the deepest sleep you've had all week. We're spending a day as a sacrificial table in ancient Peru. Yes, you heard that right. You are a large, immovable, probably rather cold piece of carved stone, and you're about to experience 24 hours of the thrilling, slow-paced life of being exactly that. Imagine the chill seeping into your very being from the earth below, the vast, star-filled Andean sky just starting to lighten above the temple walls that surround you. You are immense, heavy, probably covered in intricate carvings that you, personally, can't see, but you can feel the subtle variations in your own surface under the ancient dust. It's a life of quiet observation, profound stillness, and, well, significant events happening on you. Let's be honest, you probably won't survive this narrative awake. It's peak boring. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as you settle in, maybe picture where you are right now. Is it dark? Is it quiet? Drop your location and the local time in the comments if you feel like sharing your own little pocket of stillness. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You exist. That's the first, most fundamental truth of your being right now. Not in a philosophical, introspective way, stone doesn't really do existential crises, thankfully, but in a solid, undeniable, physical sense. You are here. You are large. You are, to put it mildly, substantial. The ground beneath you has felt your weight for longer than any living human being can comprehend, longer than the great mountains you might be able to see in the distance have looked quite the way they do now. You are a permanent fixture in this sacred space, this temple complex perched somewhere in the valleys or on the coast of what would one day be called Peru, millennia before that name held any meaning. The air around you is cool, carrying the faint scent of dry earth and something else, something subtly organic, maybe a hint of llama wool or dried maize from offerings past. You can feel the pre-dawn chill radiating off the other stones in the complex, the meticulously fitted blocks that form walls and platforms and doorways. You are part of this larger structure, a crucial, unmoving element within its planned geometry. Your surface, honed and perhaps polished in places, feels smooth under the invisible touch of the morning breeze, even as your core retains the deep cold of the night. Your purpose is etched not just into your surface, but into the very reason for your existence here. You weren't just placed, you were selected, quarried, transported with immense effort, and then carved and positioned with deliberate intent. You are a nexus point, a threshold between the mortal world and something else, something greater that these people believe influences their harvests, their rains, their very lives. You are a table, yes, but not for dining. Your meals are different, far more significant, far less edible, for most definitions of the word. You wait. This is the primary activity of a sacrificial table. Waiting. Through the long nights, under the silent procession of stars that trace paths unfamiliar to your own sky, you wait. Through the heat of the day, under the intense glare of the sun, you wait. Animals might scurry over your base, insects might explore the crevices of your carvings, dust settles softly on your horizontal expanse, all these things happen to you or around you, but your fundamental state is one of patient, massive inertia. You are the stoic observer, the unblinking eye at the center of this particular ritual world. It's like being furniture at the world's most important, and earliest, staff meeting. You hear everything, see everything, but nobody ever asks your opinion. And frankly, you probably don't have one, you're a rock. A very important rock. The quiet of pre-dawn is absolute, broken only by the whisper of the wind or perhaps the distant call of a bird waking up. You can feel the subtle vibrations of the earth beneath your immense weight, the slow geological pulse that humans are oblivious to, but which is part of your constant, ancient awareness. You are connected to the bedrock in a way that transient, soft-footed humans can never be. They walk on the earth, you are anchored in it. It's a different kind of connection, one that speaks of permanence versus fleeting moments. Like comparing a mountain to a particularly enthusiastic tourist taking a selfie in front of it. One has been there forever, the other is just passing through, probably asking if the mountain takes credit cards. Spoiler, it does not. Historians still argue whether these specific types of elevated stone platforms were used exclusively for sacrifice, or if they served multiple ceremonial purposes. Some theories suggest they might also have been altars for presenting offerings that weren't, shall we say, quite so final, or even stages for important declarations or performances. But the evidence, often found in associated artifacts or depictions, tends to strongly lean towards a primary function involving the presentation or termination of something significant upon your surface. You certainly feel designed for weight and consequence, built with an engineering precision that suggests holding something steady and central. The people who built you, part of a complex society that flourished centuries ago, were masters of manipulating their environment and materials. They built vast irrigation systems that turned deserts green, created incredible art in pottery, textiles, and metalwork, and constructed these elaborate ceremonial centers. It's a mainstream historical fact that civilizations in ancient Peru, long before the Inca, developed sophisticated social structures, art forms, and religious practices that heavily involved public ritual and the veneration of powerful, often fearsome, deities associated with nature, mountains, the sea, animals like jaguars and condors. Your existence is a testament to their beliefs and their capacity for large-scale organization and labor. Imagine moving you, a multi-ton block of stone, without modern machinery. That takes serious planning, serious muscle, and serious conviction in what you represent. Probably also a lot of yelling and maybe some surprisingly effective ancient leverage techniques. There's a quirky tidbit often associated with sites like this. Sometimes, archaeologists find evidence of offerings placed under the foundation stones of important structures like yourself. Not just on top. Things like coca leaves, shell beads, small figurines, or even sacrificed camelids, like llamas or alpacas. It's like the builders were paying the earth itself for the privilege of putting something so heavy upon it, or perhaps grounding the sacred energy of the structure from the very beginning. You can't feel what's directly beneath you, of course, but you are aware of being immovably connected to whatever lies below. A deeper foundation than just the visible platform. The sky begins to lighten almost imperceptibly. The darkest black fades to deep indigo, then a softer violet, streaks of pale orange appearing over the distant peaks. The air, while still cool, loses its sharpest edge. You've endured countless nights and witnessed countless dawns from this exact spot. Each morning is a repetition, a cycle reassuring in its predictability. Yet each day holds the potential for variation, for different people, different offerings, a different intensity to the rituals that will unfold upon your surface. For now, though, it's just you, the stones of the temple complex, and the quiet, immense landscape awakening around you. The longest part of your day is almost over, the waiting. Soon, the activity will begin. The colors in the sky intensify, painting the edges of the mountains in fiery shades before the sun itself crests the horizon. And with the burgeoning light comes the first subtle shift in the atmosphere around you. It's not a visual change, not yet, but a change in the feel of the air, a subtle disturbance in the deep quiet that has been your companion all night. You sense it first as a faint vibration through the stone, a different kind of resonance than the slow hum of the earth. Then, you hear it. The soft, rhythmic sound of bare feet on the packed earth of the temple grounds, a sound that grows steadily closer. They are here. The humans. The architects of your purpose, the performers of the rituals, the ones who lend meaning to your immense, silent existence. Their footsteps are quiet, respectful perhaps, or simply accustomed to moving softly in these sacred spaces. You can't see them yet, of course. being a rather large and immobile piece of furniture, albeit furniture with a very, very serious job, but you can feel their approach like ripples on a still pond. The sound echoes slightly off the stone walls, a gentle counterpoint to the rising morning sounds of birds and the rustle of wind through sparse vegetation. The first figures appear around a corner of the temple building, dark shapes against the brightening sky. They move with a practiced ease, clearly familiar with the layout of the complex even in the low light. They are likely temple attendants or lower-ranking priests, the ones responsible for the daily maintenance and preparation of the sacred areas. Their clothing seems simple, woven tunics, perhaps practical for the tasks ahead. As they draw nearer, you can hear the soft murmur of their voices, too low to make out words, but carrying the quiet energy of people starting their day with a specific, important task in mind. It's like the quiet hum you get before a big presentation starts, that low thrum of focused activity, except, with significantly higher stakes and fewer PowerPoint slides. And then, the first direct contact. A hand, warm and dry, rests briefly on your edge as someone passes. It's a fleeting touch, perhaps a gesture of reverence or simply a necessary point of balance as they navigate the space. But for you, the unmoving stone, it's a significant event, the first break in the long solitude, the initial interaction that signals the day's activities are truly beginning. Another person approaches your broad, flat surface. You can sense their presence directly above you as they lean down. The sound changes, a soft swish as they perhaps brush away a stray leaf or a bit of dust that the wind carried onto your sacred expanse during the night. They begin to arrange things around you, too. You can hear the scrape of pottery being placed on the ground nearby, the dull thud of woven mats being unrolled. The air near your base fills with the subtle sense of dry clay, plant fibers, and the faint, ever-present smell of the earth itself. These early arrivals are performing the preparatory work, ensuring the temple is ready for the more central figures and the main rituals that will follow later in the day. It's the ancient equivalent of making sure the coffee is brewed and the chairs are set up before the boss gets in. Except, again, the boss is a deity, and the consequences of not being prepared are probably a lot worse than just a grumpy email. Historians still argue whether the role of these early temple attendants was considered a prestigious one or merely a form of necessary labor. Some evidence suggests a hierarchical structure where only certain lineages or individuals were permitted to even step into the innermost parts of the temple complex, implying even these preparatory roles might have held some degree of sacred significance or social standing. Others believe that much of the basic maintenance was carried out by people whose primary role was simply to serve the temple infrastructure, perhaps as part of a system of community obligation or tribute. You, of course, are just a table, so you don't get to weigh in on their social hierarchy, but you can definitely tell they know their way around. No awkward bumping into things here. The air around you begins to fill not just with the sounds of preparation, but with a sense of quiet purpose. These people are not just tidying, they are enacting the first steps of a sacred process. They move with a focus that speaks of ritual knowledge passed down through generations. You can feel the faint warmth radiating from their bodies as they work close to your surface. It's a stark contrast to your own inherent coolness, a reminder of the fundamental difference between your enduring, inorganic nature and their ephemeral, living one. They are warm blood and breath, you are ancient stone and stillness. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes discussed in relation to ancient Andean temples involves the potential use of psychoactive substances by priests or attendants during certain rituals. While direct evidence on every site or every type of ritual is debated, archaeological finds and ethnohistorical accounts from later periods suggest that substances derived from plants like the San Pedro cactus or coca leaves might have been consumed to induce altered states of consciousness, believed to facilitate communication with the spirit world or deepen religious experience. It's possible these early morning preparations might have involved such elements, adding another layer of intensity or focus for the people working around you. You, being made of stone, are thankfully immune to such effects, maintaining your usual state of profound, unpsychedelic stoniness. The feeling of being alone has completely dissipated. You are now surrounded by human activity, albeit quiet and controlled. You can hear the soft shuffle of their feet as they walk back and forth, the gentle placing of objects on the ground, the occasional low cough or sigh. These sounds build a subtle soundscape around you, a prelude to the more significant sounds that will come later. They are preparing your stage, setting the scene for the main performance that will take place directly upon your solid surface. It's a reminder that despite your immobility, you are not passive, you are central. Everything is being arranged for and because of your presence and purpose. You are the anchor point, the gravity well around which the day's sacred activities will orbit. It's a lot of responsibility for a rock, really. You hope they appreciate the foundational role you play. You literally are the foundation for their key moments of worship. The light continues to grow, illuminating the details of the temple complex. You can see, indirectly through the actions of the people around you, the careful layout of the space, the way the walls are aligned, the presence of other altars or structures nearby. The efficiency and quiet focus of the early morning crew suggest a well-established routine, a daily or perhaps seasonal cycle of rituals that revolves around the functions of the temple and its various sacred components, including yourself. They move with the unhurried confidence of people who have done this countless times before, their movements flowing smoothly from one task to the next. The feeling of anticipation is palpable, a quiet current running beneath their calm exterior. The morning is progressing, and your day is truly underway. The initial flurry of quiet preparation around your base continues, but now the focus shifts directly upwards, to your expansive, flat surface. The early attendants, having cleared away any overnight debris and placed foundational items on the ground, turn their attention to readying your stone top for the sacred objects and actions it will bear today. This involves more than just a quick wipe down. It's a ritual in itself, a process of purification and preparation that elevates your mundane physical form to its sacred function. You feel the sensation of brushes moving across your surface. These are likely made of natural fibers, perhaps soft grasses or bundles of animal hair, gentle yet effective at removing the fine layer of dust that inevitably settles overnight. The strokes are rhythmic, deliberate, not hurried. You can sense the care in the movements, the respect shown for the stone itself. It's not just cleaning, it feels like a blessing, a smoothing away of the profane to make space for the sacred. Imagine someone meticulously cleaning a priceless antique before placing something incredibly precious on it. That's the kind of energy you're feeling. Except, you're the antique, and the precious things are, well, coming up. Along with the brushing, there might be water involved. Not a drenching, but perhaps a light sprinkling, or the use of damp cloths. The water would be sourced from a sacred spring or a specially prepared vessel, not just any old puddle. As the water touches your surface, you feel a temporary coolness spread, evaporating quickly in the morning air. This act of washing is deeply symbolic in many ancient cultures, representing purification, renewal, and the cleansing of any lingering negative energies or impurities. It's like giving you a little spiritual shower before the day's big performance. Alright, stone, time to wash off that overnight existential dust and get ready for some serious deity interaction. After the cleansing comes the placing of items directly onto your surface. These are the foundational elements of the ritual space, the objects that establish the sacred context before the main offerings are brought forward. You feel the gentle weight as they are set down. Perhaps small, finely made textiles are spread, woven cloths with intricate patterns or made of valuable materials like alpaca wool or cotton. These would serve as a kind of sacred tablecloth, a clean and visually appealing layer upon which other items will be placed. The texture feels different against your stone, soft, yielding, a contrast to your own hardness. Bowls or vessels might be placed upon the textiles. These could be made of polished pottery, metal, perhaps copper or even gold, depending on the wealth and status of the temple, or carved wood. You can sense their cool, smooth surfaces through the cloth. These vessels will likely hold libations, liquids offered to the deities, such as maize beer, chicha, water, or perhaps animal blood. Their placement is precise, following a specific pattern or orientation dictated by ritual tradition. It's all about creating order, symmetry, and a visually pleasing, to the humans, anyway, arrangement on your surface. Like setting the table for a very important, very picky guest who communicates through signs and omens. Other small, significant objects might join them. These could be carvings of deities or sacred animals, small figurines made of shell or metal, bundles of coca leaves, a powerful and revered plant in the Andes, or carefully arranged layers of colorful spondylus shell, a highly valued item traded from the distant coast. Each object has its own symbolic meaning and purpose in the unfolding ritual. As they are placed, you feel the distinct, localized pressure of their weight. It's a map of the sacred being laid out upon your body, a language of objects that speaks volumes to the initiated. Historians still argue whether the specific arrangement of these preliminary objects on sacrificial tables followed a strict, universally applied template across different regions and time periods in ancient Peru, or if there was significant local variation and adaptation. Some scholars propose that certain configurations might have been tied to specific deities, astronomical alignments, or types of offerings. Others suggest a more fluid tradition, where the general types of objects were consistent but their precise placement allowed for improvisation or specific intent related to the day's purpose. You, as the table, experience the weight and position, but the meaning of the pattern is understood by the humans performing the rite. The sounds around you are still relatively quiet, focused. The brushing is stopped, replaced by the soft clinking of pottery or metal, the rustle of textiles. The attendants might be speaking in low tones, perhaps reciting prayers or invocations as they prepare the space. You feel their proximity, their quiet concentration as they move around your perimeter, carefully positioning each item. It's a dance of preparation, slow and deliberate, building the sacred energy of the space step by step. It's a quirky tidbit that the materials used for these objects often came from vast distances, spondylus shell from the warm waters off what is now Ecuador, certain metals from specific mines, even specific types of wood or feathers from different ecological zones. This widespread trade network underscores the interconnectedness of these ancient societies and the value they placed on acquiring materials deemed suitable for contacting the divine, bringing them all together on your surface. Your stone might have been local, but the items you bear represent a much wider world. The sun is now fully risen, casting long shadows across the temple complex. The air is warmer, the morning chill receding. You can feel the sunlight on your surface, a different kind of warmth than the ephemeral touch of human hands. It's a deep, steady heat soaking into your stone body, a counterpoint to the coolness that still resides within your depths. The objects on your surface catch the light, perhaps glinting off polished metal or highlighting the vibrant colors of textiles. The preparation of your surface is complete. You are cleansed, adorned, and ready. The stage is set. The preliminary players, the attendants and their sacred objects, have done their part. The quiet anticipation that began with their arrival is building, spreading through the temple grounds. You are no longer just a cold stone slab, you are a consecrated platform, ready to receive the more significant elements of the day's rituals. Everything that has happened so far has been leading to this, the arrangement of the space, the purification of the surface, the careful placement of symbolic objects. The next steps will involve the arrival of more important people and, eventually, the central focus of the day's ceremonies. Your quiet role as the central point of contact between worlds is about to become much more active. You wait, ready, beneath the morning sun. As the sun climbs higher, warming the ancient stones of the temple complex, the atmosphere around you undergoes another subtle but significant change. The quiet, focused energy of the early attendants gives way to a different kind of presence. You sense the arrival of individuals with greater authority, higher status within the religious or social hierarchy. Their footsteps are perhaps a little more deliberate, their presence more commanding. The soft murmuring of the attendants seems to quiet further, a respectful hush falling as these key figures enter the sacred space surrounding you. You can't see their faces, being a table, but you can sense their movements, their proximity. Their clothing feels different, perhaps heavier, made of finer materials, or adorned with decorations that subtly brush against the air as they move. You might detect the faint scent of perfumes or other prepared substances used for personal purification or adornment. These are the priests, the shamans, the rulers, or other powerful individuals who hold the knowledge and authority to conduct the central rituals that will unfold upon your surface. They are the intermediaries, the ones who will directly engage with the deities on behalf of the community. It's like the senior management team finally arriving for the crucial meeting, ready to make the big decisions. Except, the big decisions might involve slightly more dramatic outcomes than quarterly budget cuts. They gather near you, their numbers small compared to the wider community that might assemble later, but their presence fills the space with a different kind of weight. You can feel the intensity of their focus as they survey the preparations made by the attendants. They might walk slowly around your perimeter, examining the arrangement of objects on your surface, perhaps adjusting something slightly or adding a final, crucial item. Their hands, unlike the fleeting touches of the attendants, might rest upon your surface for a moment longer, feeling the texture of the stone, connecting with its sacred energy. You hear their voices now, still relatively low, but carrying more authority, more resonance than the murmurs of the attendants. They might be discussing the specifics of the day's ritual, confirming the steps, or perhaps offering personal prayers or blessings. The language they use might be archaic or specialized, full of terms and references specific to the religious beliefs and practices of their time. It's the language of power and spirituality, spoken by those deemed worthy of addressing the divine. A mainstream historical fact about many ancient Andean societies, including those that predate the Inca, is the close interrelationship between religious and political authority. Rulers were often seen as having a special connection to the divine, or even being semi-divine themselves, and priests held significant power and influence within the society. The figures gathering around you likely embody this fusion of power, representing both the spiritual aspirations and the temporal authority of their people. Their presence underscores that the activities taking place upon you are not just religious, they are fundamental to the social and political order. You are literally the bedrock of their entire worldview, upon which their leaders perform the rites that justify their leadership. No pressure. Among these key figures, there might be one who stands out, perhaps the high priest or the ruler themselves. You can sense their central position in the group, the way the others defer to them. This individual will likely be the primary officiant for the most important parts of the ceremony. Their movements near your surface are particularly deliberate, their focus intense. They might spend a moment in silent contemplation before you, gathering their thoughts or connecting with the spiritual forces they intend to invoke. A quirky or fringe tidbit that is sometimes proposed is that some of these important religious leaders might have worn masks or elaborate headdresses during rituals, transforming their appearance to embody deities or powerful ancestral spirits. While specific evidence for every site is debated, archaeological finds depict figures in ritual attire that includes such elements. Imagine their faces concealed, their human identity obscured, as they perform acts meant to transcend the human realm upon your surface. It adds a layer of mystery and transformation to the already potent atmosphere. You wouldn't see the mask, of course, but you might sense the shift in their presence, a feeling of something larger or different standing before you. Historians still argue whether the knowledge of the specific rituals performed on tables like you was held exclusively by a hereditary priestly class, or if it was something that individuals could attain through training, initiation, or personal spiritual experience. Some evidence points to lineages of priests associated with specific temples or deities. Other interpretations suggest a more open, though still structured, system of religious knowledge transmission. The precise dynamics of who is allowed to stand where, touch what, and perform which specific actions upon your surface remain subjects of scholarly debate. But regardless of how they got their knowledge, the people standing around you now clearly possess it, and they are preparing to use it. The air around you feels thicker now, charged with anticipation and sacred intent. The casual sounds of the morning have faded, replaced by the focused energy of the ritual specialists. The objects on your surface, carefully placed earlier, seem to glow with a quiet significance under their gaze. The sunlight continues to warm you, a passive witness to the unfolding events, while the living energy of these important individuals creates a powerful field around you. Their arrival marks a transition point in the day. The initial preparations are confirmed. The sacred space is formally occupied by those who will activate its full power. The next steps will involve invoking the deities, bringing the community together, and preparing the primary offerings. You, the silent, solid center, remain the focal point, the immovable stage upon which this ancient drama of belief and supplication will play out. You feel their collective attention drawn to you, their movements orbiting around your central presence. The weight of expectation settles upon your stone surface, not physically, but energetically. You are ready. They are ready. The ritual is about to ascend to its next level of intensity. As the key figures settle into their positions around you, a new layer of sensory input begins to build, filling the air not just with presence and quiet voices, but with orchestrated sound. It starts subtly, a low hum that grows steadily. Then, distinct sounds emerge, the rhythmic beating of drums, the haunting calls of flutes or panpipes, the shaking of rattles or other percussion instruments. The temple complex, which was quiet save for the sounds of preparation, is now becoming alive with music. This is not music for entertainment, it is music for ritual. The rhythms are likely repetitive, perhaps hypnotic, designed to create a specific atmosphere, to induce a state of mind conducive to spiritual connection, or even to call the attention of the deities themselves. The flutes might play soaring, ethereal melodies, while the drums provide a grounding, percussive pulse. You feel the vibrations of the drums resonating through the earth and up into your stone mass, a deep, physical sensation that vibrates through your core. It's like being at a concert where the bass is turned up way too high, except instead of annoyed neighbors, you're potentially annoying ancient gods. Or pleasing them. Hopefully pleasing them. Accompanying the instruments, chants begin. These are likely rhythmic, repeated phrases, possibly invocations, prayers, or mythological narratives sung or intoned by the priests and other participants. The chants build in volume and intensity, weaving together with the music to create a powerful, immersive soundscape. You can feel the sound waves washing over you, the collective voice of the humans directed towards the heavens, or the mountains, or wherever they believe the powerful forces reside. It's a wall of sound, designed to fill the sacred space and carry their intentions aloft. This soundscape serves multiple purposes. For the participants, it helps to focus their minds, to build communal energy, and to separate this sacred time from the ordinary activities of daily life. For the deities, it is an offering in itself, a demonstration of devotion and respect. And for the atmosphere of the temple, it transforms it from a collection of silent stones into a vibrant, active center of worship. You, the unmoving center, are bathed in this sonic energy, feeling the vibrations, the resonance, the sheer volume of the collective sound washing over your surface and around your base. It's like being the centerpiece of the world's most serious and ancient jam session. A mainstream historical fact is that music and chanting were integral parts of religious rituals in many ancient cultures, including those of the Andes. Archaeological finds frequently include musical instruments like ceramic flutes, bone or reed panpipes, and various types of drums and rattles. Depictions on pottery or textiles sometimes show figures engaged in musical performances within ceremonial contexts. This isn't just background noise, it's a fundamental element of how these people interacted with the sacred. Your stone ears, if you had them, would be getting quite the ancient concert. As the music and chanting build, you sense the arrival of more people. The main body of the community, or at least the portion of it permitted into this area of the temple, begins to gather. Their footsteps are heavier, more numerous than the quiet padding of the early attendants or the deliberate steps of the priests. You hear the shuffle of many feet, the rustle of many garments, the low murmur of a larger crowd. They arrange themselves in the spaces around the central area where you are located, creating a perimeter of human presence. Their energy is different, perhaps a mix of reverence, anticipation, curiosity, and maybe a little bit of nervousness. They are the audience, the community on whose behalf the ritual is being performed. This growing crowd adds to the sensory input surrounding you. You feel the warmth of their collective bodies, the subtle shift in the air currents as more people fill the space. Their quiet breathing adds a soft, organic layer to the powerful sounds of the music and chanting. You are now truly at the center of a gathering, the focal point for a significant portion of the community's spiritual life. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes debated is whether the specific musical scales or rhythms used in these ancient rituals had symbolic meanings, perhaps related to astronomical cycles, agricultural seasons, or specific deities. While reconstructing ancient music is incredibly challenging, some researchers have attempted to analyze the construction of surviving instruments and the iconography associated with musical performance to find potential patterns or symbolic associations. It's possible that the sequence of sounds you are hearing is a complex sonic code, understood only by the initiated, designed to resonate not just in human ears but in the spiritual realm. You just feel the vibrations, but the humans are hearing a language. Historians still argue whether the access to these temple complexes and the rituals performed within them was open to all members of the community, or if it was restricted based on social class, gender, or other factors. Some sites seem to have large public plazas that could accommodate many people, suggesting wider access. Others have more confined inner sanctums where rituals like the ones performed on you would likely take place, implying a more limited audience of elites, priests, or specific participants chosen for the occasion. The size and composition of the crowd gathering around you might offer clues to the social structure of this particular community and the nature of the ritual taking place. Are there many people, or just a select few? You feel the size of the crowd by the extent of the human presence surrounding you, the density of their bodies. The sounds of the temple continue to build, creating a powerful, immersive atmosphere. The rhythmic drumming, the haunting flutes, the resonant chanting, it all combines into a single, potent force. You are at the eye of this sonic storm, the silent, unmoving center around which all this energy is swirling. The air itself feels thick with sound and human presence. The stage is now fully set, the space is prepared, the key figures are in place, the community is gathered, and the sacred atmosphere is being built through music and chant. Everything is culminating towards the central purpose of your existence. The offerings are next. As the rhythmic drumming and chanting reach a steady intensity, maintaining the powerful atmosphere that now saturates the air around you, the nature of the human activity changes once again. The focus shifts from the people themselves and the sounds they are creating to the objects they are bringing forward. This is the moment of offering, the presentation of tangible gifts to the deities. You sense movement at the edges of the assembled crowd, a shifting and parting as individuals or groups step forward. They approach your location, moving towards the central area where you stand. In their hands or borne on litters, they carry the items intended for the divine. These offerings are varied, reflecting the wealth, resources, and priorities of the community and its leaders. You feel the distinct sensation as items are placed upon your surface, joining the preliminary objects arranged earlier. Unlike the careful, foundational placement from before, these actions are part of the dynamic flow of the ritual. Bowls overflow with food items, maize kernels, beans, chilies, perhaps prepared stews or fermented drinks like chicha. The scents rise from the vessels, earthy grains, pungent spices, the sweet, slightly alcoholic aroma of the maize beer. This is nourishment, presented to sustain the deities or as a gesture of gratitude for the bounty they have provided. It's like bringing a potluck dish to the most important, and least human, dinner party ever. Hope the gods like ancient casserole. Textiles are laid upon you, sometimes covering existing items or spread as additional layers. These are likely finely woven cloths, possibly embroidered or adorned with feathers. The colors are vibrant, deep reds, blues, yellows, greens, made from natural dyes. These textiles represent human skill and labor, a valuable output of the community's economy and artistry, offered back to the source of their prosperity. You feel the soft, intricate textures beneath whatever they are placed upon, a layer of crafted beauty added to your rugged stone. Precious metals arrive. Objects made of gold, silver, or copper are placed upon your surface. These could be figurines representing humans or animals, small ornaments, or finely crafted vessels. The cool weight of the metal is distinct. The polished surfaces might catch the light, glinting even in the muted light of the temple interior or under the open sky. Gold, in particular, was often associated with the sun deity in Andean cosmology, while silver was linked to the moon. Offering these precious metals is a way of giving back wealth and materials associated with cosmic powers, acknowledging the divine source of such valuable resources. It's like offering your shiny car keys to the sun, except way more meaningful and less likely to result in you walking home. Sometimes, more unusual offerings are brought. Bundles of coca leaves, carefully arranged and perhaps sprinkled with lime, are placed. Seashells, particularly the prized spondylus shell from warmer northern waters, might be presented, their smooth, hard surfaces cool against your stone. Feathers from exotic birds, sourced from the distant jungle, add bursts of vibrant color and delicate texture. These items from distant lands highlight the reach of the community's trade networks and the value they placed on rare and exotic goods for their spiritual significance. You become a repository not just of local produce and craft, but of items that connect this site to a much wider geographical and ecological sphere. Historians still argue whether the type and quantity of offerings placed upon sacrificial tables varied significantly depending on the specific occasion, the deity being honored, or the needs of the community at that time, e.g., during a drought versus a successful harvest. Some scholars believe there were specific prescribed offerings for certain rituals. Others propose that communities might have had some flexibility, offering what they had in abundance or what they felt was most appropriate for the current situation. You, as the table, simply receive what is given, experiencing the variety of textures, weights, and perhaps even temperatures of the items placed upon you. The act of placing the offerings is often accompanied by specific gestures, prayers, or chants directed at the deities. The people presenting the gifts might kneel, bow, or touch their heads to the ground before your base. Their voices, separate from the main body of chanting, might be heard in low tones, expressing their intentions, their hopes, and their supplications. The energy around you shifts again, becoming charged with the specific intentions carried by each offering. Each bowl of maize, each woven cloth, each metal ornament represents a piece of the community's life, their labor, their wealth, and their deepest desires, all laid bare upon your surface. A quirky or fringe tidbit related to offerings is the discovery of intentionally broken or killed objects in archaeological contexts associated with rituals. Pottery vessels might be smashed, metal objects bent or damaged, or textiles ripped. This practice is interpreted in various ways, perhaps releasing the spirit of the object for use by the deities, preventing its use by humans after being consecrated, or marking the finality of the offering. While not every offering on your surface is necessarily destroyed, the potential for transformation or termination of the object's mundane existence is a constant undercurrent in the rituals performed upon you. You are the place where things move from the human world to the divine, sometimes via destruction. The air around you is now thick with the scents of food, plants, perhaps even animal fat or other organic materials used in the offerings. The colors of the textiles and other items create a vibrant display against your stone background. The soundscape of drums and chants continues, a constant backdrop to the specific actions of offering. The weight on your surface is accumulating, a physical manifestation of the community's devotion and hopes. Everything placed upon you is now consecrated, set apart from ordinary use, dedicated to the powerful forces that govern their world. The preliminary preparations are complete, the significant figures are gathered, the atmosphere is charged with sound and presence, and the material wealth of the community has been presented. The ritual is building towards its climax, and you are the central stage for the most significant act of all. Following the presentation of the various offerings, a new and pervasive element is added to the sensory tapestry surrounding you, scent. The air begins to fill with the distinct, often pungent, aroma of burning substances. Incense, made from various plant resins, herbs, and other organic materials, is being burned in censers or special hearths located near your base or perhaps carried around your perimeter. As the smoke rises, it drifts across your surface, carrying the fragrances with it. Some scents are sweet and pleasant, derived from aromatic woods or resins. Others might be sharper, more earthy, or even slightly acrid, depending on the specific mixture being burned. This is more than just making the temple smell nice. It's a deliberate act of purification, spiritual communication, and offering through smoke. The smoke is seen as a vehicle, carrying prayers, intentions, and the essence of the offerings upwards, towards the realm of the deities. It's like sending a scented email to the divine inbox. Here's our stuff. Hope you like the smell. P.S. Please send rain. You feel the warmth of the burning censers as they are moved close to you, and the ephemeral touch of the smoke as it swirls and curls over your surface. The smoke might settle momentarily in the carved crevices of your stone before being dispersed by the breeze or the movements of people. The scents permeate everything, clinging to the textiles on your surface, mingling with the aromas of the food offerings, and becoming an integral part of the atmosphere. The type of materials used for incense would vary depending on availability, the specific ritual, and the deity being honored. Resins from local trees, dried herbs known for their aromatic properties, or even parts of animals might be included. A quirky or fringe tidbit relates to the potential use of psychoactive plants as part of incense mixtures, not just for consumption. Burning certain herbs or resins could produce vapors believed to induce altered states or enhance spiritual connection, adding another layer of intensity to the sensory experience of the ritual. You wouldn't experience the psychoactive effects, being stoned, but you'd definitely notice the difference in the smell, maybe something particularly acrid or intensely sweet. Historians still argue whether the specific composition of incense mixtures used in ancient Andean rituals held precise symbolic meanings understood across different regions or time periods. Some scholars suggest that certain scents might have been associated with specific deities, elements, like water or earth, or purposes, like healing or divination. Others believe there was more local variation and that the primary purpose was the general act of creating sacred smoke as a form of offering and purification. Regardless, the deliberate selection and burning of these substances underscores the importance placed on scent and smoke as a pathway to the divine. The visual effect of the smoke also adds to the atmosphere. It creates swirling, ephemeral patterns in the air, sometimes obscuring the details of the space, making the surroundings seem less distinct, more otherworldly. Against the backdrop of the ancient stones and the assembled crowd, the rising plumes of smoke add a dynamic, ever-changing element to the otherwise static environment. It enhances the sense of mystery and sacredness, visually embodying the boundary between the visible human world and the unseen spiritual realm. The sounds of drumming and chanting continue, creating a powerful, constant thrum that underlies the more fleeting sensations of scent and touch. The combination of sound, sight, of the smoke, and smell creates a multi-sensory environment designed to deeply engage the participants and facilitate their connection with the divine. You, the unmoving center, are receiving the full force of this sensory barrage, grounded and steady amidst the swirling smoke and echoing sounds. The people responsible for the incense, likely priests or attendants, move deliberately around you, ensuring the smoke is distributed throughout the sacred area. Their movements are part of the ritual flow, their actions synchronized with the music and chants. You feel their presence as they pass close by, carrying the burning censers, the heat radiating outwards. It's a carefully choreographed performance, every element serving to enhance the sacredness of the moment. It takes serious coordination. Try walking around with a smoking bowl while someone is chanting and playing the flute, without tripping. These folks were pros. A mainstream historical fact is that the use of incense in religious ceremonies is a practice found in numerous ancient cultures around the world, across different continents and time periods. It speaks to a common human impulse to use aromatic smoke as a way to communicate with the divine, purify sacred spaces, or honor powerful forces. Your experience of being enveloped in incense smoke connects this specific Andean ritual to a much broader, global history of religious practice. The intensity of the smoke might vary throughout this phase of the ritual, perhaps building to a peak before subsiding slightly. The air around you feels heavy with the accumulated scents and the lingering presence of the smoke. The offerings placed on your surface are now not only physically present, but also symbolically elevated and transformed by the passage of the sacred smoke. They have been touched by the breath of the divine, carried upwards on the scented plumes. This phase of the ritual, focused on incense and atmosphere, serves to further separate the sacred space and time from the mundane. It heightens the senses, focuses the mind, and deepens the communal experience of worship. Everything is building, layer by layer, towards the central event. The key figures are poised, the offerings are presented and blessed by smoke, the community is gathered and immersed in sound and scent. You, the enduring table, remain the silent recipient of all these preparations, waiting for the moment when the full power of the ritual is unleashed directly upon your stone surface. The air crackles with anticipation. As the potent scent of incense hangs in the air and the rhythmic drumming and chanting continue to create an immersive soundscape, you sense a growing presence around you. The earlier arrivals, the attendants, the key priests, the initial group of important figures, are joined by a larger contingent of people. This is the main body of the community gathering, swelling the numbers in the temple complex surrounding your central location. You feel the ground subtly shift with the movement of many feet. The murmur of voices, though still hushed and respectful, becomes a collective hum, a background sound underlying the more formal music and chanting. The air grows warmer with the heat radiating from so many bodies. The visual field around you, were you able to see, would be filled with people, rows and clusters of individuals forming a perimeter around the sacred space where you reside. This influx of people brings a different kind of energy. It's less focused and intense than that of the ritual specialists, but it is broader, representing the collective hopes, fears, and faith of the community. They stand or sit, their attention directed towards the central area where the priests are gathered around you. Their faces, though unseen by you, are likely etched with a mixture of reverence, awe, anticipation, and perhaps apprehension. They are here to witness, to participate through their presence, and to be recipients of the blessings or outcomes sought by the ritual. It's like the audience arriving for the main act at a theater, filling up the seats and creating that collective buzz of anticipation. Except the play is real, and the consequences are, potentially, life-altering. The sounds they make are individual and collective, quiet coughs, subtle shifts in position, hushed whispers to neighbors, the rustle of their clothing. These small sounds add to the overall auditory environment, creating a sense of a living, breathing community gathered for a shared purpose. You, the silent stone, absorb the weight of their collective presence, the feeling of being surrounded by so many people focused on the actions that will take place upon you. Historians still argue whether the inclusion of the wider community in these rituals was primarily for political purposes, to reinforce the authority of the rulers and priests by demonstrating their connection to the divine, or genuinely religious, to allow the people to participate directly in acts of worship and contribute their collective energy to the supplication of the deities. Some sites with large plazas surrounding the core temple area suggest an intent to accommodate a large audience, supporting the idea of communal participation. Regardless of the primary motivation, the presence of the crowd transforms the ritual from a private act by a few into a public spectacle with widespread implications. The temperature around you rises noticeably with the increased number of people. You feel the ambient warmth, a stark contrast to your own inherent coolness. This physical sensation underscores the difference between your enduring, non-living state and their temporary, biological existence. They are warm, moving, breathing. You are cold, still, eternal, at least from their perspective. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes considered is the possibility that the arrangement of the crowd around the sacrificial table might have followed specific social or cosmological principles. Perhaps different groups, families, lineages, or individuals of different status were expected to stand in particular locations relative to the altar or the temple structure. While archaeological evidence for such precise arrangements is difficult to uncover, ethnohistorical accounts from later periods suggest that social hierarchy and spatial organization were often intertwined in ceremonial contexts. You might be surrounded by a carefully ordered representation of the community, each person in their designated place. The sounds of music and chanting continue, now amplified by the acoustics of the space and the presence of the crowd. The rhythmic beat of the drums seems to resonate more deeply. The chants feel more powerful with the added voices, even if those voices are just murmuring the words or humming along. The energy in the air is palpable, a mixture of focused intent from the priests and collective anticipation from the community. You are the silent witness at the heart of this assembled multitude. Every eye, within the inner circle of priests and the outer ring of the community, is directed towards you. You are the focal point, the stage upon which the most significant interaction between the human world and the spiritual realm will occur. The offerings on your surface, the incense swirling above you, the priests gathered around you, all are framed by the presence of the waiting crowd. A mainstream historical fact is that public rituals played a crucial role in maintaining social cohesion and reinforcing shared cultural values and religious beliefs in ancient societies. Gatherings like this, centered around important ceremonial acts, would have been significant events for the community, providing a sense of shared identity and connection to the divine forces that shaped their lives. Your role, as the central physical element of such a ritual, makes you a silent but essential component in the social and spiritual fabric of this ancient society. You're not just a rock, you're a community anchor. The murmuring of the crowd builds the sense of anticipation. They know something significant is about to happen. They have seen the preparations, heard the music, smelled the incense, and witnessed the offerings being placed on your surface. Now, they wait for the culmination, the act that will bring the ritual to its peak and hopefully achieve the desired outcome, whether that's a successful harvest, victory in battle, protection from disaster, or the appeasement of angry gods. The air around you is thick with this collective anticipation. You feel the weight of their gaze, the direction of their focus. The energy is building, drawing closer and closer to the point of action. The sounds, the scents, the presence of the crowd, all elements are converging, creating a powerful vortex of sacred energy centered squarely on your unyielding stone form. The preliminary stages are complete. The main event is imminent. The attention of everyone present is now fully and undeniably focused on what is about to happen upon you. With the community gathered, the sacred space prepared, the offerings presented, and the air thick with the sounds of music, chanting, and the scent of incense, the ritual reaches a critical phase. The focus of everyone present, from the high priest standing closest to you to the most distant member of the assembled crowd, narrows to a single point, the central offering. You sense a shift in the movements of the key figures around you. Their activity becomes more focused, their gestures more deliberate. The sounds of the music and chanting might change tempo or intensity, perhaps becoming more dramatic or more solemn. The collective energy of the crowd seems to draw inward, their murmurs quieting further as the most significant part of the ceremony approaches. All attention is now directed towards an object or being that represents the culmination of the community's offering and their deepest hopes. This central offering is often the most valuable, the most significant, or the most symbolic element of the entire ritual. It is the gift intended to have the greatest impact on the deities, the one meant to ensure the most favorable outcome. It could be a particularly precious artifact, a rare and valuable substance, or, in some instances across ancient cultures, and relevant here in ancient Peru, though we're keeping it PG-13, a living sacrifice. Whatever it is, its presence changes the dynamic on your surface and in the surrounding space. You feel the shift in weight and presence as this central offering is brought forward and placed, or positioned, directly upon you. If it's an object, it is likely handled with extreme care and reverence, placed in a central, prominent position amongst the other offerings. Its material, its craftsmanship, or its symbolic significance would make it stand out. Perhaps it's a magnificent textile, a large and intricately worked vessel of gold or silver, or a bundle of offerings far more elaborate than the others. You feel its weight upon your surface, a tangible representation of its immense value. If the central offering is a living being, a high-status animal like a prized llama, or in some very specific and debated instances across ancient Andean history, a human, their presence introduces a different kind of energy. You would sense the warmth of their body, the tension in their posture, perhaps hear their breathing or soft sounds. Their life force is palpable, a stark contrast to the stillness of your stone form and the inanimate objects surrounding them. It's like placing the most precious, rarest gem you can find onto your sacred display case, or, in the other, less pleasant scenario, placing something that is very much alive onto a very unyielding surface, knowing what's about to happen. Let's stick to the gem analogy for comfort, shall we? A really, really valuable gem. The key priests gather even closer around this central offering on your surface. Their actions become the primary focus of the ritual. They might perform specific gestures over it, sprinkle it with libations, adorn it with further decorations, or chant prayers directly towards it. Their voices might rise in intensity or shift in tone, speaking directly to the deities, presenting this ultimate gift and articulating the community's needs and desires. A mainstream historical fact is that the practice of offering valuable objects and, in some cases, living beings, was a significant component of religious systems in various ancient Andean cultures. These sacrifices were seen as necessary acts to maintain cosmic balance, appease powerful deities, or ensure the prosperity and survival of the community. Your existence as a sacrificial table is intrinsically linked to this fundamental practice. Historians still argue whether the type of central offering varied seasonally or annually, perhaps tied to specific agricultural cycles, astronomical events, or historical circumstances facing the community. Some scholars propose that certain deities might have preferred specific types of offerings. Others suggest that the most valuable item available at the time, whatever it might be, would be chosen for the most important rituals. The specific nature of the offering placed upon you today is dictated by the needs and traditions of this particular time and place. The energy around you is now incredibly focused. The periphery of the crowd seems to fade slightly as all attention is drawn inward to the small area on your surface where the central offering rests. The air is thick with anticipation. The sounds of music and chanting underscore the gravity of the moment, building tension. You, the silent, stable foundation, bear the physical weight of the offering and the immense energetic weight of the community's hopes and the priest's concentrated intent. A quirky or fringe tidbit is the idea that the central offering might have been chosen not just for its material value or symbolic type, but for specific characteristics, perhaps an animal with perfect markings, an object with no flaws, or in the case of human offerings, individuals with specific physical traits or from particular social groups. This suggests a detailed and complex system of selecting the most perfect offering, adding another layer of ritual complexity to the process. The moment is charged. The key priests are positioned, their hands perhaps raised or touching the offering. The sounds of the temple reach a peak intensity. The gaze of the crowd is fixed. The central offering rests upon your surface, the focal point of a culmination that has been building all day. You are the threshold, the place of transition, and the moment of that transition is now imminent. Everything that has occurred, the preparations, the gathering, the offerings, the music, the incense, has led to this single point in time, enacted directly upon your enduring stone form. The climax of the ritual is about to happen. The air around you, already thick with incense smoke and the resonant vibrations of drums and chanting, seems to tighten further. The collective energy of the assembled community and the focused intent of the priests coalesce, drawing inward, centering entirely on your surface. The sounds reach a fever pitch, the drumming accelerates, becoming a rapid, insistent pulse, the chanting grows louder, faster, a wave of sound crashing against the temple walls and echoing back, amplifying the intensity. The key figures standing directly around you, the high priest, perhaps other important ritual specialists or ruling figures, move with a renewed urgency. Their earlier deliberate pace is replaced by a quickening rhythm, their gestures becoming more pronounced, more powerful. You feel the subtle vibrations as they move, their feet shifting on the ground near your base, their bodies leaning closer to your surface. It's like the final frantic moments before a rocket launch, all the countdowns finishing, all the systems checking out, the energy building to an explosive peak. Though, significantly less fire and noise, and considerably more chanting about mountains. Their voices, which were previously low and measured, are now raised, intoning powerful words directed at the central offering and towards the heavens or the mountains. These might be final prayers, potent invocations of deities, or commands directing the energy of the ritual. You feel the vibrations of their voices resonate in your stone mass, a physical sense of the power being projected. The language is intense, full of conviction and sacred meaning, even if you, the table, only perceive it as sound and vibration. Their hands are active, moving over the central offering placed upon you. They might be holding ceremonial knives made of stone or metal, vessels containing liquids, bundles of sacred plants, or other ritual implements. You sense the proximity of these objects, feel the faint drafts of air as they are moved. The focus is absolute, every movement precise and charged with intent. There is no hesitation, no fumbling. These are individuals performing actions they have trained for their entire lives, actions that hold the fate of their community. They believe in the balance. The air smells sharply now, not just of incense, but perhaps of blood, if an animal offering is involved, or of potent herbs being crushed or burned more intensely. The scents are visceral, adding another layer to the heightened sensory experience. The visual effects of the swirling smoke, combined with the focused activity around your surface, would create a powerful, almost overwhelming scene for the human participants. For you, it's a saturation of input, sound, vibration, scent, the physical presence of intense activity directly above you. The crowd surrounding the inner ritual space is silent now, or nearly so. Their earlier murmuring has ceased, replaced by a palpable stillness, a collective holding of breath. Their eyes are fixed on the actions taking place upon your surface. Their energy is a coiled spring, taut with anticipation, hope, and perhaps fear. They are witnessing the most sacred and potentially dangerous moment of the ritual, the point of direct interaction with the forces that govern their world. You feel the weight of their collective gaze, an almost physical pressure emanating from the perimeter of the assembled community, all directed towards your surface and the central offering it bears. A mainstream historical fact is that ceremonies involving sacrifice and intense ritual performance were often public spectacles designed to reinforce the power of the ruling elite and the validity of their religious beliefs. The assembly of the community wasn't just about participation. It was also about demonstrating the authority of those who could command the attention of the gods and perform these crucial acts. Your role as the visible center of this act makes you a silent prop in the political as well as religious drama unfolding. Historians still argue whether the specific timing of these climactic rituals was dictated solely by astronomical observations, like solstices or equinoxes, agricultural cycles, like planting or harvest times, or if political and social needs, like the installation of a new ruler or times of crisis, also played a significant role in determining when the most important sacrifices took place on tables like you. The precise confluence of factors leading to today's ceremony remains a subject of scholarly debate. You just know that today is the day, and now is the time. The sounds of the instruments build to a frantic peak, a crescendo of percussion and wind. The chanting becomes a powerful, unified roar from the priests, a final push of energy and intention. The key figures are positioned directly over the central offering. Their movements are swift and purposeful. This is the point of no return, the moment when the accumulated energy and intention of the entire ritual is brought to bear in a single, decisive action. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes discussed in relation to ancient Andean rituals is the concept of kame, a life force or animating energy believed to be present in objects, places, and beings. Rituals, including sacrifice, were sometimes understood as acts intended to interact with, direct, or transfer this kame. From this perspective, the actions taking place on your surface aren't just symbolic offerings. They are literal manipulations of this vital energy, with you serving as the crucial point of contact and transfer. You might be feeling not just the physical weight, but the energetic weight of this perceived life force concentrated upon you. The air vibrates with the intensity. The priests are poised, their instruments ready. The central offering is positioned. The crowd is silent, watching. Every element of the ritual has built towards this moment. The seconds stretch, filled with sound, tension, and focused intent. You, the ancient stone, are the steady, unmoving anchor in this storm of activity and energy. You are ready to receive the culmination. The climax is not just nearing, it is arriving, directly upon your waiting surface. And then, it happens. The culmination of the ritual, the moment towards which everything has been building, unfolds directly upon your surface. It is swift, intense, and final. You feel the sharp, immediate pressure. Depending on the nature of the central offering, this sensation varies. If it was an object, perhaps a heavy ceremonial axe descends, striking it with force, breaking or deforming it. You feel the impact resonate through your stone body, a blunt force absorbed by your mass. If it was a living sacrifice, the sensation is different, a focused point of pressure, a sudden warmth against your coolness, followed by a gush of liquid. You feel the flow of warmth spreading, seeping into the tiny pores and crevices of your surface. This is the most direct physical contact you experience with the life force that has been terminated upon you. The sounds accompanying this action are sharp and immediate, cutting through the sustained soundscape of music and chanting. A sudden cry, a gasp from the crowd, the distinct sound of stone or metal striking flesh or bone, the gurgle of liquid. These sounds are raw and visceral, a stark contrast to the organized, rhythmic sounds that preceded them. The music and chanting might momentarily falter or shift into a different, perhaps more somber, tone immediately after the act. The smell intensifies dramatically. The sharp, coppery tang of fresh blood if an animal or human sacrifice was performed, or the released scent of potent herbs or other substances if the offering was plant-based or inert but symbolically activated through breaking or other means. The air is suddenly thick with the smell of finality, of life transitioning or objects being transformed. The key priests are positioned directly above and around the point of action on your surface. Their movements, though perhaps quick and forceful in the moment of the act, are still precise, dictated by ritual tradition. They might be collecting the flowing liquid in vessels placed specifically for this purpose, or performing gestures of blessing or consecration over the terminated offering. Their focus is absolute. Their face is perhaps impassive or etched with the intensity of the moment. You are the direct recipient, the final point of contact. Your stone surface bears the immediate aftermath, the weight, the warmth, the liquid, the physical remnants of the offering. This is your primary purpose realized, the reason for your existence and placement at the heart of the temple. You are the threshold upon which the most significant gifts, the most profound acts of supplication and cosmic balance, are performed. It's like being the designated cutting board for the universe's most important, and messy, cosmic ingredients. A mainstream historical fact is that the shedding of blood was a central element in many ancient religious rituals globally, often viewed as a potent offering that could appease deities or communicate with the spirit world. In the Andes, evidence from various sites, including iconography and archaeological finds, points to the practice of animal sacrifice and, more controversially and less commonly, human sacrifice in specific contexts. The act performed on your surface is a direct embodiment of this belief system, a tangible interaction with the divine through the termination of life or object. Historians still argue whether the act itself was performed with great reverence and solemnity, or if it was also intended to be awe-inspiring or even terrifying for the assembled crowd, reinforcing the power of the deities and the priests who mediated with them. Some interpretations suggest a deep spiritual connection and a sense of profound, perhaps sorrowful, necessity. Others highlight the potential for spectacle and control inherent in such public acts. You, the table, experience the physical reality, but the emotional and political impact on the humans is a subject of ongoing scholarly debate. The warmth of the flowing liquid begins to cool quickly against your stone surface, a fleeting heat that contrasts with your enduring coolness. It might pool in the carved depressions, creating dark, glistening patterns before slowly beginning to soak into any porous areas or flowing off your edges into channels or receptacles designed to receive it. A quirky or fringe tidbit is the idea that the patterns formed by blood or other liquids pooling or flowing on sacrificial tables might have been interpreted by priests as omens or messages from the deities. The direction of flow, the way it soaked into the stone, or the speed at which it cooled could all be seen as significant signs, providing guidance or confirming the deity's acceptance of the offering. You might be passively creating a temporary, organic map on your surface that the priests are actively reading for divine communication. The intense soundscape of the climax begins to subside. The frantic drumming slows, returning to a more measured, perhaps mournful, rhythm. The chanting softens, shifting in tone or volume. The sharp, immediate sounds of the act fade, replaced by the low hum of the crowd and the continued, though less intense, ritual sounds. The most active, explosive moment is over. You remain, bearing the physical evidence of the act. The offerings that were presented earlier are still on your surface, now perhaps mingled with or stained by the central offering. The air still carries the potent scents. The energy that was tightly focused on you begins to dissipate slightly, spreading out over the space, impacting the assembled community. The critical moment of transition has occurred upon your unmoving form. Your purpose for this specific ritual has been fulfilled. The immediate aftermath begins. The intense energy of the climax begins to recede, like a wave pulling back from the shore. The sharp, visceral sounds of the act performed upon your surface fade into the background, replaced by a more subdued, perhaps even somber, atmosphere. The frantic pace of the drumming slows, the chanting diminishes in volume and intensity, returning to a lower, more measured rhythm or perhaps ceasing altogether for a moment of silence. The collective held breath of the crowd releases, replaced by quiet exhalations and a low, reverent hum. You remain, the silent witness and physical stage for the profound event that just transpired. Your surface still bears the direct evidence, the lingering warmth from the terminated life or broken object, the moisture pooling or staining the stone, the physical remnants of the central offering mingled with the earlier presented gifts. The air around you still smells strongly of what was just performed, the sharp scent of blood, the release of plant essences, the metallic tang of broken metal. The key priests and attendants who were actively involved in the climax don't immediately step away. Their focus remains on your surface, but their actions shift from the intensity of the act itself to the immediate aftermath. This involves a process of handling the remnants, collecting precious liquids, and beginning the initial phase of clearing. You sense their hands moving carefully on your surface once more. Vessels that were perhaps placed to catch liquids are attended to, their contents collected with reverence. Any particularly significant parts of the central offering, certain organs from an animal, specific pieces of a broken artifact, might be carefully removed from your surface, perhaps to be preserved, consumed ritually, or disposed of in a specific sacred manner. You feel the delicate touch of fingers or tools as these items are lifted from your stone. The warmth on your surface, the immediate heat from the offering, begins its inevitable fade. Your massive stone body, which retains the coolness of the earth and the night, quickly begins to draw the heat away. The liquid begins to cool against you, its temperature dropping towards that of your stone. It starts to congeal of its blood, becoming thick and sticky before drying. This physical cooling mirrors the energetic cooling down of the ritual atmosphere, the transition from the peak intensity to a calmer, post-climax state. It's like the silence that falls after a powerful piece of music ends, that moment where the energy still lingers but the sound is gone. The offerings that were placed on your surface earlier, the textiles, the food, the metal objects, are still there, now potentially mingled with the remnants of the central act. They have borne witness to the climax alongside you, and some might now be stained or altered by what occurred. The attendants might begin a preliminary sorting or clearing of these items, carefully removing some while leaving others for a later stage of the ritual or for subsequent distribution. You feel the familiar weight of these objects being lifted and carried away, one by one or in bundles. A mainstream historical fact is that the disposal and handling of sacrificial remnants were often governed by strict ritual rules in ancient societies. Different parts of an animal sacrifice might be consumed by priests or specific members of the community, burned entirely, or buried in sacred locations. Objects that were sacrificed might be permanently removed from circulation, deposited in tombs or offering pits. This careful handling of the aftermath underscores the belief that the power and sacredness of the offering lingered in its physical remains. Historians still argue whether the immediate clearing of the sacrificial table was primarily for practical reasons, to prepare for subsequent ritual actions or simply to clean a sacred space, or if it held deeper symbolic meaning, perhaps representing the dissolution of the offering back into the cosmic order or the completion of its journey to the divine realm. Some interpretations suggest that the act of clearing was as ritually significant as the act of placement and termination. You simply experienced the physical process, the removal of weight, the sensation of hands and tools on your surface again. The sounds around you are now dominated by the quiet efficiency of the attendants. You hear the soft scrape of tools used to clean your surface, the rustle of materials being gathered, the hushed voices of instructions being given. The more dramatic sounds of the climax are gone, replaced by the mundane yet still ritualistic sounds of tidying up. It's the cosmic cleanup crew coming in after the divine event. Okay, powerful deities served, cosmic balance achieved, now who's on mop duty? A quirky or fringe tidbit involves the potential use of specific substances in the immediate cleaning process, beyond just water. Some researchers suggest that substances like maize flour, coca leaves, or specific clays might have been used ritually to absorb or cleanse the remnants on the table, adding another layer of symbolic action to the physical cleaning. You might feel the texture of these materials being rubbed or spread across your surface, interacting with the lingering moisture and residues. The crowd, while still present, is no longer as intensely focused as during the climax. There might be quiet murmuring again, reactions to what they have just witnessed. Their energy is shifting from peak anticipation to contemplation or perhaps relief, depending on the perceived success of the ritual. You feel their presence, still surrounding the space, but the laser-like focus on your surface has softened. The immediate aftermath is a necessary transition phase. The peak has passed, the sacred act is complete, and now the physical space must be attended to. The remnants of the offering, imbued with sacred energy, must be handled according to tradition. Your surface, which just bore the weight and impact of the culmination, must be prepared for whatever comes next, whether that's another ritual, a period of rest, or a more thorough cleaning. You are shifting from the active stage of bearing the offering to the passive stage of being cleansed of its traces. You feel the removal of the primary evidence of the sacrifice, the wiping away of the most potent residues. The weight on your surface lessens significantly as objects are removed. The coolness of your stone reasserts itself over the areas that were warm. The sharpest scents begin to dissipate as liquids are collected and materials are cleared. The physical reality of what occurred is being managed, processed according to the ancient rules that govern this sacred space and your role within it. The immediate aftermath, like the climax itself, happens directly on and around you, making you the silent, enduring center of even the cleanup. With the immediate remnants of the central offering cleared from your surface, the process shifts from dealing with the primary evidence to a more thorough and extensive cleaning and purification of your entire stone form. This is a crucial step, designed not just for hygiene, though that's probably a secondary benefit, but for restoring the sacredness of your surface after the intense, potentially messy, and certainly transformative act that occurred upon it. It's like wiping down the kitchen counter after cooking something really elaborate, but with way more spiritual significance and less chance of finding stray sprinkles days later. Attendants, likely the same ones who performed the initial preparations, approach you again, now armed with different tools and materials. You feel the sensation of water being applied generously to your surface. This isn't a light sprinkle anymore, it's a more thorough washing, perhaps using vessels to pour water directly onto the stone, or large bundles of fibers or cloths soaked in liquid. As the water spreads, you feel its coolness, washing over the areas that held the warmth and moisture of the offering. The water runs into the carved depressions, flows across the flat surfaces, and trickles down your sides and base, washing away any lingering residues. The water itself is likely ritually significant. It could be water from a sacred spring, river, or the ocean, if located near the coast, or water that has been blessed or prepared in a specific way. Its cleansing power is not just physical, but spiritual, intended to wash away any lingering impurities, negative energies, or the charge from the intense ritual that might make you unsuitable for ordinary touch or future ceremonies without proper preparation. You feel the vigorous action of brushes or rough cloths being used to scrub your surface. This is more forceful than the gentle dusting from the morning. The friction of the fibers or coarse materials against your stone is palpable. Attendants lean into the task, working methodically to clean every part of your upper surface and perhaps even your sides. You hear the scraping sound of the brushes, the sloshing of water, the quiet grunts of effort from the people performing the work. They are diligent, ensuring no visible trace of the sacrifice remains. Special substances might be used in conjunction with the water. As mentioned before, things like maize flour, ash, or specific plant pastes might be applied as abrasives or cleansing agents, rubbed into the stone to help lift stains and further the purification process. You feel the grainy or pasty texture of these materials being worked into your surface by the brushes or hands. These substances could also carry their own symbolic meanings, adding another layer to the ritual cleansing. Maize, for example, was a sacred staple crop, its use in purification perhaps linking the cleansing of the sacred space to the fertility and renewal of the earth. Historians still argue whether the thoroughness of the cleaning rituals on tables like you was primarily about ensuring physical cleanliness for subsequent use, or if the complete removal of any trace of the offering was a crucial symbolic act signifying the offering's successful journey to the divine realm and the completion of its transformation. Some scholars emphasize the practical aspects, especially in a religious center with ongoing activity. Others highlight the symbolic power of cleansing and renewal in Andean cosmology. You just feel yourself getting a really good scrub down. The sounds of cleaning continue for a significant period. It's a repetitive, methodical process. The rhythmic scrubbing, the pouring of water, the emptying of dirty water vessels and refilling them with clean. It's a period of focused labor, transforming you from the site of intense, dramatic action back into a clean, prepared sacred platform. The air around you shifts from the sharp sense of the sacrifice to the cleaner smell of wet stone and earth, perhaps mingled with the subtle aromas of the cleansing agents being used. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes discussed relates to the potential for staining on sacrificial tables, particularly from blood. Despite rigorous cleaning, some stone surfaces can absorb liquids, leaving permanent marks. Researchers have sometimes looked for chemical traces or discoloration on ancient stone features to find evidence of ritual activities. While the attendants are doing their best to make you pristine, it's possible that, over centuries, faint, invisible, to the naked human eye, residues might build up, a silent record within your stone of the countless rituals you've witnessed. You, of course, wouldn't know if you were stained, but you'd feel the effort being made to prevent it. The water begins to run clear as the cleaning progresses, indicating that the surface is free of visible contaminants. The scrubbing might lessen in intensity or focus on specific areas. Finally, the application of water and scrubbing stops. You are left wet, the water glistening on your surface under the sunlight. Then comes the drying. In the dry Andean air, especially with the sun upon you, the water evaporates relatively quickly. You feel the coolness of the evaporating water on your surface, a process of drying that prepares you for the next phase, not the drama of the ritual, but the quiet aftermath of the community dispersing. A mainstream historical fact is that rituals of purification and cleansing are common across many religious traditions, often performed after significant sacred events or before entering sacred spaces. The thorough cleaning you are undergoing aligns with this widespread human need to purify and reset the sacred environment, marking a clear transition from the intense ritual action back to a state of readiness or rest. As the water evaporates, your true stone color and texture are revealed beneath the moisture. The carvings on your surface, temporarily obscured by the water, become sharp and clear again. You are returned, physically, to a state of preparedness. The intense drama of the sacrifice is gone, washed away, leaving only the silent, enduring stone table, cleansed and purified. The humans have done their part in making you physically ready. Now, the community, having witnessed the ritual, will begin to disperse, leaving you once more in a state of relative solitude, albeit a solitude marked by the profound events you have just hosted. The space around you begins to prepare for the return to its less activated state. With your surface cleansed and beginning to dry in the Andean sun, the focus of the human activity around you shifts once more. The intense, concentrated energy of the ritual and the methodical labor of the cleaning give way to a different kind of movement, dispersal. The assembled community, having witnessed the culmination of the ritual and the subsequent purification of the sacred space, begins to depart. You sense the loosening of the crowd around you. The density of bodies lessens as people turn away from the central area and begin moving towards the exits of the temple complex. The collective hum of their presence diminishes, replaced by the more distinct sounds of individual or small groups of people walking away. You hear the shuffling of their feet on the earth and stone paths, the low murmur of conversations that are no longer hushed with ritual intensity, the occasional call to a family member or friend. The energy in the space around you transitions from the heightened, focused state of the ritual back towards a more diffuse, everyday kind of presence. The weight of the collective gaze is lifted from your surface. The feeling of being the absolute center of attention dissipates. While some priests or attendants might remain for further tasks, the vast majority of the people who filled the temple complex are now leaving. It's like the crowd emptying out of the stadium after the game is over, everyone heading home, the peak excitement having passed. Their departure is not necessarily hurried. There might be a lingering sense of the sacredness of the space, a moment of pause or reflection as they pass significant features or exit through ceremonial gateways. Some might perform final, personal gestures of reverence before leaving, perhaps touching a hand to a sacred stone, offering a quiet prayer, or leaving a small personal item at a designated spot near the exit. You might feel the faint vibrations of these last lingering actions as they move away from you. Historians still argue whether the dispersal of the community after major rituals was simply a practical matter of returning to daily life, or if it was also a ritually structured process, perhaps involving specific routes of exit or further, less intense ceremonies performed outside the main temple area. Some interpretations suggest that the movement of the community after the climax of the ritual was symbolic, representing the carrying of the sacred energy or the blessings received out from the temple and back into the wider world. You, the static center, simply observe, by feel and sound, the flow of people moving away from you. As the crowd thins, the sounds of the environment beyond the temple walls become more noticeable again. The distant sounds of animals, the wind whistling through the landscape, the subtle noises of daily life resuming in nearby settlements. These external sounds, which were completely masked by the intense soundscape of the ritual, begin to filter back in, signaling a return to the ordinary world for the departing community. The visual field around you, were you able to see, would gradually empty, revealing the architectural details of the temple complex once more, the carefully constructed walls, the open plazas, the other stone features. The space that was filled with the vibrant presence of human bodies is becoming defined again by its ancient, stone structures. A quirky or fringe tidbit sometimes explored is the possibility that certain individuals or groups might have remained behind after the main crowd dispersed, perhaps for specific post-ritual activities like consuming parts of the offering, engaging in divination, or continuing private prayers. While the majority leave, there might be a small contingent whose connection to the temple and the ritual extends beyond the main public event. You might sense their continued presence, a few scattered individuals still moving or standing within the complex as the larger crowd melts away. The sunlight continues to warm your surface, aiding the drying process after the purification. The air, while still carrying the faint, lingering sense of incense and sacrifice, is beginning to feel less charged, less intense. The powerful, almost overwhelming energy of the ritual is dissipating, leaving behind a calmer, quieter atmosphere. A mainstream historical fact is that after periods of intense communal activity, whether religious or secular, there is often a period of return to normalcy and the resumption of daily tasks. The dispersal of the crowd from the temple complex signifies this transition, the reintegration of the participants back into the rhythms of their everyday lives, carrying with them the experience and the hoped-for benefits of the ritual they have just witnessed and participated in. Your role in their lives is centered around these peak moments, but their lives extend far beyond the temple walls. As more people leave, the silence around you grows. The sounds of their departure fade into the distance. The space becomes quiet again, not the deep, pre-dawn quiet, but a post-activity quiet, still echoing with the recent events. The voices of the few remaining attendants or priests carrying out final tasks are distinct in the relative stillness. You are left, gradually, in a state of solitude again. The objects that were on your surface have been removed, your stone is clean and dry. The crowd that surrounded you is dispersed. The intense energy has subsided. You are no longer the active stage for a dramatic, communal event, but a silent, enduring part of the sacred landscape once more. The sounds of nature, the wind, distant animal calls, begin to reassert themselves as the dominant auditory input. Your day, as the active center of the ritual, is winding down. The long period of waiting and stillness is returning, but now it is informed by the events that just transpired upon your unyielding form. You prepare for the quiet of the approaching evening. The last of the main crowd has drifted away, their footsteps echoing faintly in the distance before silence reclaims the outer reaches of the temple complex. A few figures remain, likely the most senior priests or perhaps dedicated temple guardians, moving slowly, completing final tasks. You sense their presence as they secure entrances, extinguish any remaining torches or fires that were used for light or ritual burning, and perhaps perform quiet, concluding prayers. Their activity is minimal now, a final winding down after the day's intensity. Your surface is cool and dry again, returned to its natural state after the thorough cleansing. The textures of the stone are clear beneath the evening air. The carvings, previously wet and dark, are now sharp and defined in the fading light. You bear no physical trace of the dramatic events that transpired upon you hours ago, yet the memory of them lingers in the feel of the space around you, the faint sense still clinging to the stone walls, the settling of the air. It's like the quiet after a big party. The guests are gone, the music is off, but the energy of what happened still feels present in the room, even if you've cleaned up all the confetti and spilled drinks. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and deep purple, the temperature begins to drop rapidly, the characteristic chill of the Andean night returning. You feel the coolness seeping into your stone mass, drawing out the warmth absorbed during the day. This is your natural state, grounded and cool, connected to the deep earth. The stones around you also cool, radiating their own stored energy. The sounds of the night begin to emerge. The rustle of small nocturnal animals scurrying in the shadows, the distant call of a night bird, the constant whisper of the wind moving through the high-altitude air. These are the sounds that filled the long hours before dawn, sounds that were completely overshadowed by the music, chanting, and human activity of the day. They are a reminder of the cyclical nature of time, the return to the quiet rhythms of the natural world after the peak human orchestrated event. You settle into the stillness. Your function for this day is complete. You have served as the unmoving center, the stable platform upon which the human world interacted with the divine. You have borne the weight of offerings, the heat of incense, the energy of focused intent, and the physical reality of sacrifice. All of it unfolded upon you, and now it is done. You process the day's events in your own silent, stony way, a collection of physical sensations, changes in pressure, temperature, vibration, scent, and the presence and absence of other forms of matter and energy. It's not thinking, not reflecting in the human sense, but a state of being that has absorbed the day's data points. Okay, today I felt this weight, this heat, this liquid. Got it. Logged for eternity. A mainstream historical fact is that while daytime ceremonies were common, many ancient Andean cultures also conducted important rituals at night, particularly those related to astronomical observations or deities associated with the moon, stars, or underworld. Therefore, while this specific narrative day is ending with your rest, on other nights, your stone surface might be illuminated by moonlight or torchlight, becoming the center of nocturnal ceremonies with different sounds, scents, and purposes than the daytime ones. Historians still argue whether the frequency of major sacrificial rituals performed on tables like you was tied to a rigid calendar of religious festivals, or if they were performed more opportunistically in response to specific events like droughts, famines, military campaigns, or changes in leadership. Some scholars believe there was a predictable annual cycle. Others propose a more flexible system of ritual response. You, the table, Don't keep track of the calendar, but you would feel the difference between a day like this, filled with intense activity, and the many other days and nights that are passed in quiet solitude. As darkness deepens, the stars begin to appear in the vast, clear Andean sky. Without the interference of artificial lights, the night sky here is incredibly bright, a dazzling expanse of constellations, planets, and the Milky Way stretching across the heavens. These celestial bodies held profound significance for ancient Andean people, who were keen astronomers and often aligned their temples and rituals with astronomical events. A quirky or fringe tidbit is the idea that the specific position of certain constellations or planets might have dictated the precise timing or nature of the rituals performed upon you. For example, the rising or setting of specific star groups associated with agricultural cycles could signal the time for planting or harvest rituals involving offerings on your surface. Or the appearance of certain celestial phenomena might call for urgent sacrifices to avert perceived cosmic imbalance. You, the earthbound table, are physically rooted, but the human activity on and around you is deeply connected to the movements of the cosmos above. It's like being the stage for a play whose script is written in the stars. The silence around you grows more complete. The few remaining humans have finished their tasks and departed, or settled into quiet watchfulness elsewhere in the complex. You are alone again, surrounded by the enduring stone structures of the temple and the vast, silent landscape stretching out under the night sky. The air is cold now, carrying the crisp scent of the mountains and the dry earth. You have witnessed a day of profound significance for this ancient community. You have been the anchor for their hopes, fears, and devotion. You have felt the full weight of their beliefs expressed through physical action and material offerings. And now, you rest, a passive but essential component of this ancient sacred space. The moonlight, if the moon is out, might cast long shadows across your surface, highlighting the carvings, making them seem to shift and deepen in the ethereal light. You are not just a rock, you are a repository of countless such days, countless rituals, countless interactions between humans and the forces they believed governed their world. Each event leaves its subtle trace in the energy of the space, in the microscopic residues on your surface, and in the history of this place. You endure, steadfast and silent, waiting for the next dawn, the next arrival of human feet, the next time your cold, flat surface will become the vibrant, charged center of ancient belief and practice. But for now, there is only the quiet, the cold, the stars above, and your own immense, enduring presence. Now, as we leave the ancient stone table to its long, silent night under the stars, let your own body settle down. Feel the weight of yourself against the surface you're resting on, just like our table felt the weight of offerings and the earth. Let the sounds of the temple fade into the distance, replaced by the quiet hum of your own space, maybe that fan we talked about earlier, or just the stillness of the night. Breathe in slowly, and out slowly. Imagine that vast, dark sky above, filled with countless stars, just like the table sees, reminding you of the deep, slow rhythms of time, so much bigger than our busy days. There's nothing more to think about, nothing more to do. The story is complete, the day is over, the ancient table is resting. Just let yourself sink deeper, heavy and still, like the stone, peaceful, quiet, drifting.